It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the multidimensional MD. Thank you so much for joining me. This episode is going to be on the alkaline diet, as described by Edgar Cayce. And I have my puppy in the background squeaking her toy, so we'll do our best to get through this. If you haven't already, please like or subscribe, comment, let me know where you're from. If you have any questions, also let me know whether from this episode or another episode. The reason I wanted to talk about the alkaline diet today is because it's springtime, and it's a great time for just cleansing the body, lightening up things, and it's a good time to just start to look at our diet and what we're doing. And I felt like I needed it, having gone on some trips and just feeling like I needed to lighten up my in terms of how my body feels and the clarity in my body, and just wanting to fine tune some things so I can feel as good as I can. So just some background on Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was the most studied and well-known 20th century psychic. He had done so many different readings. He would go into this sleep-like state where he would bring in information from beyond, and he would give people so much useful information on their health, on their lives, and so much guidance. All of these readings were recorded, and so there's tens of thousands of readings of information, and they were so precise and accurate that there were plans and funds to build a hospital based on Edgar Cayce's teachings and his readings. And due to the Great Depression, those plans were never really got to come to fruition. But there is the Association for Research and Enlightenment, which is based out of Virginia Beach, and they continue to share this wealth of knowledge that he brought from so many different areas of life. Some people will call him the father of holistic medicine or the sleeping prophet. And I don't know, many of you may not know, but I have a lot of various roles with the ARE, Edgar Cayce's ARE. I do have a column in Venture Inward, which is their member magazine that comes out quarterly. It's called the MultiDimensional MD. So if you haven't been able to check that out, you can go over to Edgar Cayce website, and it's for members, but membership is very low fee. So check it out. It's a great magazine. So much. And one more announcement before we get going is that Corinne Cayce and Corinne is the great-granddaughter of Edgar Cayce, have started a new podcast for parents. It's called Creating Calm, Parenting with Mind, Body, Spirit. And we are so excited. It just launched this week. We've been working on it for many months. And I was introduced to Corinne just because of our mutual interests and through the ARE. And we really just hit it off and got along so well, being able to talk about parenting and holistic aspects of our life in this multidimensional way. And these conversations were so helpful for us, just even between the two of us. We were so inspired. And so we thought we would create this space for parents that we could delve into some of these deep issues from a mind, body, spirit perspective, and help uplift our families and our parents. So it is now available on every podcast platform, all the main ones from Spotify, Apple, iTunes. You can also get it on the Edgar Cayce website. So thank you. So anyway, moving on to the alkaline diet. Why an alkaline diet? Well, our bodies need help in order to maintain its balance. So in medical school, I learned that you don't have to think about that pH, that the body has this great buffering system, and it does, but it's not in isolation of the rest of us. How is it buffering? Well, it does so at the expense of the makeup of our body and the tissues and our bones. So if we eat in a way that supports the optimal pH of our body, then it's so much health. It's like so much easier on our body. It doesn't tax our organs as much. And so even though our bodies can buffer, we need to help it in its job and its role so that it doesn't get overburned and then result in all kinds of various illnesses. So one of the basic tenets of the alkaline diet that Edgar Cayce um, really spoke about was eating seasonally and locally grown foods. And as we go into warmer weather, it's so interesting to see what pops up, in gardens, like what is supposed to grow in the gardens from the greens. And then when we move into the summer, we get more of the fruits and the berries, which are really refreshing the body and cleansing for the body, and help to lighten it up. So when we're feeling hot with the weather, it has this cooling aspect as well. So nature, which we are part of, naturally provides for us the foods that are balancing for us times of the year. And it's so difficult. I mean, I'm in Georgia, and in Georgia, most of the produce that's grown here is actually shipped out of state. And then so much around us is like shipped in, and that's what we're buying in the grocery stores, unless you're shopping at local farmers markets. I mean, that's kind of inefficient use of resources, I would say. It is great that we have this global network where we can share and provide resources where people don't have those, but we need to be more efficient about it. And then, so just to be mindful of like, okay, what's growing in season, and see if you can start to incorporate more of that. And then when we start to get divided into that 80 alkaline, acidic, so really it's about 80% alkaline. And I'll talk about some details of that, but instead of trying to memorize it, I want you to just remember some basic tenets. So it's 80-20, and that 80% is going to be mostly vegetarian. Okay. So, and it's going to emphasize the leafy greens or above ground veggies versus like the starchy veggies that tend to be below ground. So it's most vegetables are alkaline except for beans. So any legumes and asparagus. Why asparagus? I don't know. But so all veggies except for beans. Just remember that. And then 3-1 above ground. So anything that grows above the ground. So you think about all your leafy greens and other things. And then underneath that are the root veggies. So the root veggies are really, in terms of all of your veggie content, is going to be in that 25%. So that 3-to-1 ratio. Got it? And most fresh fruits are also going to be in the alkaline category, but I'm going to talk about a little bit later on in this talk that the food combination is also very important. So most fresh fruits, I'll give you some exceptions per Edgar Cayce, except for cranberries, plums, olives, prunes, and blueberries, plus any canned or preserved fruits. It doesn't, when we're talking 80-20, it doesn't mean don't eat anything in the 20%. Remember, we need a balanced diet, but these are some rules of thumbs to go by. And you're not meant to be a slave to your diet, but to have an idea of what's going to support your body in the healthiest way possible. When we look at the nuts, the more alkaline nuts are going to be your Brazil nuts, almonds, chestnuts, and hazelnuts. Now, again, that doesn't mean to go crazy on them because you need to get a lot of vegetables in that 80%. But those, if you were to choose any nuts, like a handful of nuts a day, then choose from those. It doesn't mean you can't eat the more acidic ones, and I'll get to those in a moment, but to have some balance there, okay? And if we're talking about non-vegan things that are alkaline, then it is going to be your bone broths, yogurt, buttermilk, and raw milk. Although I know from a conventional perspective, we don't really support, because of the bacteria, drinking raw milk. So I will let you do more research on that if you know your farmer and where you are getting your foods from. And I really like, for that alkaline diet, I really like to add like sprouts too, because they're just so fresh and have this amazing energy to them. And I'll just toss that over like a nice fresh salad. And as the weather is warming up, it's really so nice to get these fresh fresh foods in. Okay, so now we're going to get into the 20%. 20% does not mean these foods are bad. It just means you're going to eat less of them than the ones in the 80%. So that's going to include most of your meat products, except for the bone broth and a couple other things, beef juice and bone meal. So I know this gets into a little bit more details, but when Edgar Cayce spoke about like meat animal products, then he also said that more poultry, fish, or lamb, as opposed to cow, beef, or pork. So again, this is still in the 20%. And I know there's a lot of variety in the way people eat and how they choose to eat. So if you're vegan and you don't want to eat meats, that is okay too, but you still keep in mind this 80 and 80-20 ratio. So you're going to get those proteins in other ways, and that's when you can get it through the sprouted beans and your grains. So 20% acidic is going to be your meats, beans, grains, preferably sprouted, and that's any of your baked goods and cereals and things. So dried fruits too would be in this. So preserves and dried fruits are going to be the more acidic, not like the fresh fruits, which are more alkaline. And again, dairy as well, except for the ones that I mentioned before. Cheese and ice cream and milk are going to be all more acidic, except for buttermilk, yogurt, and raw milk and whey. Those are going to be more in the alkaline, but remember what I said before about raw milk. In terms of the nuts that are more acidic, it's peanuts, pecans, and walnuts. I have a handout for this, so if anyone's interested in that, just message me and we'll get you signed up for the email list and we'll get you the handout. And also condiments. So sweets and condiments, ketchup, mayonnaise, mustards, those things are all going to be in your 20% acidic foods. So it's really important not just to get the balance of the 80-20, but also pay attention to proper food combinations. So, and also, one note about that 80-20, for kids, you could loosen it up some. I know that it is difficult for a lot of people to eat 80-20 alkaline acidic, but to do your best and to know that it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you take any steps towards it, it's going to be better than not, right? So it's not all or nothing. You're not supposed to be a slave to your diet, but if you're making decisions, lean towards 80-20, lean towards a more alkaline diet. So the food combinations are really great because we don't always talk about this in medical school and nutrition. We talk about this more in like integrative and holistic health, but this is not common knowledge for a lot of people. So here are the food combinations to avoid. You don't want to have too many starchy foods in one meal. So that includes too many grains, like grains and potatoes and pasta, which tends to be like the typical American diet, the standard American diet. Not too many starchy foods. Okay, now let's look at breakfast, what people tend to eat for breakfast, oatmeal or cereal. That is okay, but you don't want to combine that with citrus fruit or juice. So citrus and grains don't combine well. So if you're going to have any grains at breakfast time, don't have orange juice with it. You also don't want to have milk with citrus. So same thing when you think about like that buffet breakfast and that standard picture of like the milk and the orange juice and the cereal, that is not a great food combination at all. Again, you want to keep the starchy foods limited, and sugary foods plus starchy foods, which is going to be so much of our baked goods and treats and things, are not a great food combination. Does that mean you can never have it? No, you're not supposed to be a slave to your diet. However, this can't be like the foundation of your diet. like having a muffin every day, sweet and starchy combined, is not a great idea. It's basically cake, and that's not very healthy. But if on occasion, it's okay. Don't sweat it. Don't lighten up. We don't have to be so serious about it, but we need guidelines for healthy living. Okay, so any large combinations of starchy foods plus the other foods, whether it's meats, fish, poultry, or dairy, aren't great. So then you start thinking about, okay, well, that sounds like pizza or mac and cheese and a lot of these standard foods. And it's not like my kids don't eat those things, but I am aware, which combinations aren't great. Coffee and tea are meant to be taken more plain and without milk or cream. So sorry, not the English style of tea time. Have it straight. It just will digest better. It assimilates better into your system. You'll get more benefits out of the tea or the limited coffee if you do it that way. So here are some fruits to eat on their own. They don't really combine well with other things. Apples, bananas, melons. So if you're going to have apples, an apple snack on its own. If you're going to have bananas, a banana snack on its own. Melons, same thing. So they just don't digest well with other foods, and then your body starts to ferment these things, and the gut flora gets off, and other things happen. It makes it more sluggish too. So listen, my kids have apples all the time with other things, but ideally I try to have it like more as a snack. Maybe I'll throw some peanut butter on there. I know it's acidic, but we do it. So I'm giving you the guidelines and then also telling you what we do as well. And some notes on food preparation. Okay, so I think most people know fried foods aren't a great idea. It was probably, in terms of culinary history, a great accident that wasn't great for our health to come up with fried foods. When you're cooking, just don't, if you could avoid using aluminum and avoid aluminum in general, that includes aluminum cans, which so much is packaged in that just canned foods, from the soft drinks and the cans, and also aluminum cookware, which tends to be really lightweight. So just check on that. If you can, switch it out for something else if you have anything else, any other options. As little sugar as possible or none. We will, I'll use things, honey for flavor and taste. And if we will use sugar, but it's as little sugar as possible is best. And as an aside, it's not necessarily Edgar Cayce. I opt for sea salt instead of processed salt. For me, I'm very sensitive, and my patients tend to be very sensitive. It tends to process better in the body. The body is able to assimilate that natural salt in a way that's not as harsh. And if I use regular processed salt, then I find that it makes me swell. So, yeah, and if you want to get the iodine, you can incorporate some sea vegetables in that. There are so many variations to these guidelines and so many variations to the alkaline diet. So don't get in a tizzy about all the details that people may argue about online. Take the basics, run with them, and take steps towards just more alkaline diet in general until you get to like that 80-20 ratio. And one of the most important things when we're talking about an alkaline diet, especially as Edgar Cayce talked about it, is attitudes. This mindset while you're eating and cooking, which is so important. With my family, especially, when I'm cooking, if you've had a hard day and you are still need to blow off some steam or are angry, it's not a great time to start cooking. Like, I like to settle down, get myself in a better state of mind before I start preparing the food. So I'm not infusing that kind of energy into the food and then serving that to my family. So if you find yourself doing it, it's okay. It's not about having a guilty complex. It's just like, oh, I'm doing that. You know what? Let me turn off the stove. I'm just going to take a little breather. We have some tea, go for a 5-minute walk, come in a little bit more refreshed, and then go back to it. It's not about being hard on yourself, but anything, even any healthy food, can start to become detrimental on your body if you eat it with a mindset that is really negative or angry, or any emotion that you don't really want to expand. It doesn't mean not to have those emotions. It means to take care of yourself, have some quiet time to tend to that, instead of trying to drown yourself in the food while you're in that negative state of mind, because that food will no longer be nourishing for you. And this that mind, body, spirit perspective, where that spirit and the energetics of things can have a profound impact on your health and these things that are coming into your body and how you assimilate them. And that's pretty remarkable, because then you see how, even if you eat 100% healthy, which is very difficult, you can make that food more toxic simply by your mindset. And at the same time, it is also possible, if you have a really positive and joyful aspect to your being. And this is what my kids always try to convince me of, but I'm like, okay, it's not everything. It's mind, body, spirit. It's not just spirit. We got the mind and the body too. Is that you can infuse more of that joy and that healing energy into your foods as well, and serve it that way. And when you eat it too for yourself, you're going to take it in, and that food will become so much more nourishing and so much healthier. And so my kids will, of course, they'll come up with these delicious treats with chocolate and sugar and all the things that are probably like on the more acidic 20% that we're supposed to eat less of. And they will present it to me and they will say, "Mommy, this is made with so much love. And so it's not going to be bad for you." So, you know, I will, of course, if they make something like that, I will definitely have at least a bite of some of it to enjoy them and to enjoy life. But I'm not going to make that the majority of how I eat. And I won't let them convince that to make that the 100% of the way I eat. But it is still a big part of it. So I hope that helps you. We will put the timestamps on this later so you can kind of go through it and listen to the parts if you need more information about it. And there's a free handout I have. I'll put it up somewhere. I'll put the link in the comments, where you can sign in and get access to that. And you can also go to the Edgar Cayce website and look up more information as well. But I have a 2-page PDF to kind of like sum up. It's like the Cliff Notes versions of what you need to know and what I tend to live by. So I hope that helps you. And please, if you'd like to, you can follow me on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook at All Worlds Health and Pediatrics, TikTok, the Multidimensional MD. You can sign up on my website, allworldshealth.com, for my e-loves letters. I send those out once a week. And you can also listen to my new podcast with Corinne Cayce I was telling you about before. Corinne Cayce is the great granddaughter of Edgar Cayce, and we just really hit it off and really enjoyed our conversations that are candid and honest about parenting, about life in general, from this mind, body, spirit perspective. You can find that on any of the podcast platforms: Spotify, iTunes, Google, and the Edgar Cayce website. So we're really excited to share that with you. Next week on Wednesday, we are going to have a Facebook Live, so that you can meet the two of us and join us there and see more of what this new podcast is all about. But I will still be here for you on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. EST, to talk about my usual with the Multidimensional MD YouTube channel. And I hope, as always, you can join me. Let me know. I would love to hear from you, any form, whether you want to send me a message on the contact form, you want to send me a message here, place a message in the comments. If there's anything you would like me to talk about, I would love to. So please give me feedback and let me know what's useful for you. Have a great rest of your week. Lots of love to you, and I will see you next week, 11 a.m. EST, for another episode of the Multidimensional MD. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, and thanks for being with me. See you. Thank you, Shantaria.